Nobody really cares how smart or funny or successful you are if you can't get along with people. But that's just part of what emotional intelligence, or EQ, is. I'm your host, Edythe Richards, and you may know me from my podcast series, Myers-Briggs Question Corner, or my website, atopcareer.com. I've spent the last 20 years of my career helping people get smart about their careers. And I've found lots of smart people aren't successful. Why is that? I'm convinced it's due to emotional intelligence. In EQ at Work, I'm bringing you inspiring people and messages to help you get smart about your emotions.
It takes more than being smart to act smart. You have the ability to be successful, to have better relationships, and to be happier. You can become more emotionally intelligent over time, but it's a choice. Every day, multiple times a day, you make that choice. Which voice in your head do you listen to? How do you respond when things don't go your way? Do you smile and say hello to your colleagues? Do you actively try to understand the points of view of your partner, your children, your parents, your friends? These are choices you make every day. You have the ability to change your life and to get smart about your emotions.
Are you a super successful person, but you let your problems weigh you down? Or you let other people's opinions affect your self-esteem? Or maybe you make a lot of excuses for why things don't go your way. Or maybe you're struggling, as my guests this season have struggled.
I spent 14 months looking for a job after I graduated.
I lost my job because I really wasn't able to read the signals they were sending.
We have no relatives here, we have no friends here, so it would be very hard for us to get the recommendation when we look for a job.
And I had no frame of reference for what I was supposed to do.
But my life got turned upside down one day. My husband got arrested. He had been living a secret life, behind my back, and committed some pretty horrible crimes. I ended up getting removed from my job.
For many years, I was sexually assaulted by a babysitter when I was 7 years old, and she was 14. And from there, I was assaulted in the military sexually.
I could not walk. I couldn't talk. It was very strange to wake up out of a coma and not being able to do the things that you take for granted.
If there's one theme that ties all these conversations together, it's resilience. But there's a downside to resilience when it's splashed with well-meaning advice like, it'll make you stronger. Think about how difficult it is for you to make even small personal changes. How often have you vowed not to blow up at your child or your spouse, only to find yourself in the very act of blowing up the next day or the next hour? Or how often have you vowed to begin an exercise or diet routine, or not use your credit card, or clean your house, or stop procrastinating?
When you live in a world that is designed for people other than you, you just have to keep on coming. You basically have to learn to take the calluses and the bruises and just run, go.
For so long, it just seemed like so many bad things were happening to me, and I can't tell you how many times I thought to myself that my life couldn't possibly get any worse. And then it did. And then it did again.
Instead of focusing on the problems that made them resilient, my guests this season have focused on their strengths that got them through the hard times.
And I took a good hard look at my skills and assessed what I thought I wanted to do and where that meshed with what I could do. And I was fortunate enough to land the position I have now.
Grit, perseverance, learn how to take a punch, metaphorically. It's good literally too, I suppose.
I guess I just had no way to go but forward.
if I didn't forgive him, I just knew there was no way. I didn't feel like there was any way I could move on in my life and heal from the hurt that he had caused me.
And I take charge of being me and being in charge of me and who I want to be. And I want to be a nice, kind, loving person. And that's who I'm going to be.
I got a dog.
Whether it's from our pet dog, our friends, or even simple distractions like movies or walks in nature, we all need help on our journeys. The truth is, yes, resilience will make you stronger, but we're often not told how to be resilient. Martin Seligman, known as the founder of positive psychology, has studied this phenomenon more than anyone else, and he's found that our success is driven by one critical factor: whether you believe your failures are produced by personal shortfalls beyond your control, or whether they're mistakes you can fix with some effort. A successful and resilient mindset requires emotional intelligence. Briefly, emotional intelligence is a set of skills that help you manage your own emotions and use them effectively in order to produce the behavior that you want. Whether we realize it or not, emotions affect everything we do, and they therefore affect whether we're successful. And we can each choose to use emotional intelligence or not. We can choose to behave a certain way with a certain person or not. And each choice we make will affect our relationships, our communications, and yes, our resilience. In each episode this season, I'll be interviewing people I know who have used emotional intelligence to overcome some very difficult life events. And at the end of each episode, I'll provide practical strategies for how you can boost your own emotional intelligence.
We may be unsure of ourselves, and we may show up as a result as arrogant because we're overcompensating, or maybe we're afraid of something and we may show up as hostile or defensive because we're protecting ourselves. And it's important, I think, to try to be really aware of how we show up. And more importantly than that, we need to try to understand that the others in the room may be showing up in one way, but they may be feeling something completely different because we don't know what they're facing or what they need.
My hope is by breaking the old culture paradigms and creating new ones, work is going to change. How we use emotional intelligence at work is going to be liberated, because we're going to have all these new perspectives in place that are going to be fresh and free us from the old. I don't know how else to put it, but I think it's a real opportunity.
When we can harness our emotions and get them to work for us rather than against us, that is what will lead to more success, more happiness, and better overall well-being.
Tune in each week for inspiring stories of real people who have used the concepts of emotional intelligence to level up in their lives. In next week's opening episode, we'll meet Leah Zabalski, a former freelance writer turned renewable energy advocate. After changing careers at 40, Leah found herself competing for jobs with a much younger crowd and struggling to pivot her professional background to a new field. Leah demonstrates emotional expression and shows us you're never too old to try something new. Thanks for listening to EQ at Work. Find us using the hashtag EQ at Work, or visit our website eqatwork.net. Subscribe to this podcast via iTunes, Spreaker, or your favourite podcast platform. We'd love you to leave a rating or review, and if you have a moment, a simple share would be wonderful. Remember, tell your friends, mastering your emotions matters.